a maritime and aviation security professional with over a decade of experience safeguarding people. Mr. Vishal Khambe.
The reason is that I want to use my knowledge and experience that I've gained so far and that I continue to acquire through my constant learning.
You have had the rare chance to work with global careers like Jet Airways, handle security operations of Cathay Pacific, Lufthansa, and finally Royal Caribbean International.
So I think through my constant learning process, just help the company and the industry as well to take it to a certain height and explore new possibilities.
Welcome to FaceTime with Leaders, the podcast powered by Directors Institute, World Council of Directors, where we bring you unfiltered conversations with leaders who don't just talk impact, they create it. Today's guest is someone whose resume don't sit still because neither does he. We are joined by Mr. Vishal Khambe, a maritime and aviation security professional with over a decade of experience safeguarding people, protocols, and reputations. From the runway chaos of Jet Airways to the global decks of Royal Caribbean, he has mastered the art of calm under fire and strategy under stress. Here's Mr. Vishal Khambe on FaceTime with Leaders.
Thank you so much, Sunny, for having me here today. It's a great pleasure.
All right. So, Mr. Vishal, once again, it's great to have you here.
Thank you so
Can
much.
you take us through that journey, not just the roles you have held, but the turning points that really defined your path? What got you started and what kept you going?
Okay. So it's a very interesting, like every individual has got some particular beginnings. For me, it all started with my family only. Because my father is a retired police officer. So he was very instrumental for me in being my inspiration. So what I usually happened was as a child, I always wanted to join the defense services. So after my during my graduation last year, I started appearing for the combined defense services examinations. So I would always I had challenges with clearing my SSB exams. However, I did not stop there. Then I switched over to Jet Airways, and after I moved to Jet Airways, that was a turning point for me, I would say. Because when I moved to Jet Airways, I also got to know about the opportunity to work on board the ships. So I did my 4-year stint at Jet Airways, and along with it, while I was in Jet Airways, I did my BCAS exams, that's Bureau of Civil Aviation Security examinations, with excess cleaner examinations, and it was a good exposure for me in terms of international travel. Okay, with the hospitality industry and everything. And from there, I switched over to the current company, which is Royal Caribbean International. So it was a really exciting journey for me because working with Jet Airways and working with Royal Caribbean International, it was like, two different worlds apart because one is an aviation industry, one is a security industry. So working with Jet Airways laid the foundation for me. And that pushed me ahead to working with Royal Caribbean International. And during my Jet Airways years, as I was from an arts background, I also enrolled myself into doing a postgraduate diploma with Wellington Institute of Management at Mumbai. So I did my course structure there as well. I completed my 2 years. That was through distance learning, and that also helped me broaden my view about the business part of the corporate sector. And that certainly encouraged me to do better. And that's how when I went to Royal Caribbean International. Before that, let me come back to Jet Airways. So when I was with Jet Airways, I started off there as a security assistant. And from there, I moved on to the flight operations department. So I saw the front end of the operation at the airport, but at the same time, I saw the back end of the operation as well with flight operations. And with flight operations, my profile was into scheduling of crew members, whether it was cockpit crew and cabin crew, who were traveling as additional crew members. either for training purposes or for relocations or any other official work. So I had a good experience with Jet Airways on the operational side as well as on the execution side as well. And with that, that helped me during my Royal Caribbean International interview. During those days, we had these hiring partners. Right now, all the interviews are happening on Skype and everything. But back in 2012, 2013, there were authorized hiring partners. So I had the opportunity to get through that. And once I got through on that, then I started gaining my certification for working at sea. Because since both are two different industries, okay, just like you have DG Civil Aviation, okay, which monitors the aspects of the civilian aircrafts and civilian airports. Similarly, we have DG Shipping of India. So DG Shipping of India and the International Maritime Organization, they require all seafarers to undergo a certain certification, which is called the STCW, Standard Training, Certification and Watchkeeping. So I had to go through that as well, which was a 14-day course. And once that was done, then I had to wait for a bit longer for my assignment. And once I went on board, I went there as a security staff. So after being security staff, it was completely a different experience for me, with different crew members and different nationalities working together and other things. And from there, I moved on to become a security supervisor, and now I'm here. So working as a security supervisor also was very challenging for me, and I took it up with grace. And for that matter, I would say I will not take the credit by myself for everything. Obviously, the team is there. I had many great leaders. I had wonderful colleagues out there from different nationalities to support me as well and enhance my experience as a security supervisor.
Mr. Vishal, that's such a grounded and honest reflection. There is a quite strength in how you have navigated all those shifts. And I think a lot of audience will see parts of their own journey in yours.
Thank you so much.
So you have worked closely with local authorities and global enforcement teams during port operations. And I imagine things don't always go by book in those moments. So was there ever a time when your quick thinking or diplomacy helped calm a tense situation or prevent it from escalation?
Well, to be honest, there are many incidents that took place. Okay, during my 10 years stint as a seafarer, as a security supervisor with Royal Caribbean International. I cannot disclose everything, all of it, for professional conduct and also for confidential reasons. Okay, but just let me give you a gist of one particular incident. Basically, what we do is on board with Royal Caribbean International, we categorize incidents as guest conduct policy incidents and guest conduct policy violations, as well as the ones which are categorized as crime as per US local authorities. Okay. And that might not just be with US local authorities, that also goes through, sorry, it also goes to other ports as well, irrespective of different nationalities that we visit, different nations, international waters that we visit on. And this particular incident happened when the ship was docked in Dover. The ship's name was Jewel of the Seas, and we were docked in Dover in England. And usually what happens is whenever the ship used to dock in Dover, the authorities wanted all passengers to come down there to the immigration booth and get themselves cleared by the immigration. However, this particular passenger, an elderly gentleman, no, I would not say very elderly, but a middle-aged guy. So he basically did not turn up at the immigration booth, and before the departure, we had to finish all the necessary procedures. And what rapidly happened is me and the guest admin officer, the guest administration officer is the one in charge to make sure that all the guests have passed through the immigration process with all the necessary documentations and everything. So me and the guest administration officer, we went to this particular gentleman's cabin, and we approached him, but he started becoming verbally abusive towards us. And instead of a bit convincing to him and trying to explain to him what exactly is the process and the procedure, it's not from the ship side, it's from the local authorities. He was still upset, and eventually he became not just verbally abusive but also physically aggressive. And it was a balcony cabin. So, like, when you are angry, when you are aggressive, it's a balcony cabin. You might, just jump overboard or do something around. So I immediately called my chief security officer. So chief security officer, along with the local authorities, they came to the respective stateroom, and then after that, some convincing. Okay, they were able to actually get the particular gentleman to the immigration booth. However, because of this particular incident, he was not allowed further sailing with us. Okay, and also the immigration authorities also and the local law enforcement also did not allow him to come back on board. So with that thing in mind, after that we had to do a certain process. It delayed our ship as well because we also had to get to the next port. And then after that, with all the necessary investigative procedures that we had to do, okay, we submitted compiled our report and then submitted to the local law enforcement as well as to a corporate office through web-based reporting process. So that's how we handle the situation. And yes, so this is one of the things. But apart from that, we investigate from small missing items, okay, up until we have incidents of sexual assaults, domestic assaults, rape. So these particular serious incidents also happen. Even sometimes people going overboard in the middle of the night. It's very rare, but unfortunately it has happened. Irrespective of the company that you work with or the region that you go to, whether it's Asia Pacific, whether it's Mediterranean, whether it's Europe, whether it's US waters, Caribbean waters. So yes, we do everything possible to ensure our guest safety and keep them secure as much as possible.
Incredible, Mr. Vishal. And it's moments like those that remind us leadership isn't always about grand gestures. Sometimes it's that clarity under pressure that makes the real difference.
Right. Because you cannot just keep on pushing your viewpoint across just the way it is. Sometimes you also need to be very diplomatic with your behavior, and at the same time you also need to understand the concerned person's viewpoint as well. It cannot be my way or the highway. It can never be that way.
Absolutely, Mr. Vishal. So while we are on the subject of experience, you have had the rare chance to work with global carriers like Lufthansa and Cathay Pacific during your Jet Airways days. So, Mr. Vishal, from your perspective, what do you think Indian security operations can pick up from those international environments, not just in process, but in mindset, culture, or approach?
Okay. So I was raised in Mumbai. Okay, it's a multicultural environment. So it was not very difficult for me to interact with people from different backgrounds or anything like that. However, when I joined NCC during my college years, it laid the foundation for me to conduct myself in a professional manner. Okay, and this attitude and practice, it helped me with when I joined Jet Airways as well, with handling of security operations at Cathay Pacific, working with the Jet Airways team, working with the Lufthansa team at the ground operations. And finally, when I went to working on both the ships with Royal Caribbean International, it's very unheard of back home here in India. But I always get this question as to how do you guys communicate? What is the main language of communication? So English is the primary language of communication. However, depending upon ships, we have got crew ranging from 50 to 60 different nationalities to even 100 and more. And at the same time, we also have thousands of guests as well who come from different diverse backgrounds. Majority of it, if the ship is sailing in US, the majority of the guests are from US nationals. However, if the ship is in Europe, then the European demography takes over. And similarly is with the Asia Pacific region as well. So with this particular difference and diverse backgrounds, it was a bit challenging at first. With people with different accents and everything, and sometimes you don't understand the other person doesn't understand you. There's a different perspective, though the end goal might be the same. Okay, so it took me a while to understand things, and then later on, but once when I got to know how different nationalities have their mindset process and how they are different, have their cultures and everything, got to know a bit more about them, their upbringing as well. What are the acceptable things in the culture and what are not? Because you also have a lot of humorous things. It's not just work, work, work. Okay, but at the same time, you need to draw a line to ensure that you don't cross it and you don't offend anybody. Because what is good for me might be an offensive thing for the other person, depending upon the nationality or the culture that they come from. So there was a lot of new learnings for me on that particular aspect. And then yes, whenever it was dealing with guests or crew, especially if it's from different nationality and if they cannot speak English, then we had to call in someone from our own team who speaks that particular language and help us translate the conversation, or even from the guest services officers. Usually, we always have a international ambassador on board, especially when dealing with guests. So we would always get their help by coordinating with the guest services manager, and that's how we would understand what the guest concern is and provide a reasonable solution or investigation for that particular concern. And it also made me aware that irrespective of where you come from, whatever is your background, okay, at the end of the day, we are all human beings. So certain traits are the same, okay, but some of it might differ depending upon your upbringing, as I said before, depending upon your upbringing or your culture that you come from. But at the end of the day, in terms of guest experience, whether you're an end consumer here in India or whether you're an end consumer in US or Europe, at the end of the day, you want a happy vacation with your family members, right? And from a crew perspective, since everybody is obviously there to work, okay, the end goal is to make sure that whatever tasks have been assigned to them or like to the entire team or the concerned person, the operation is taken care of properly, and it does not uh, gets hampered because of a communication problem or anything. But English is more or less understood uh, in most of the companies that I've in most of the ships that I've worked with and the teams that I work with. There might be a certain particular crew member or so who can understand English but is unable to speak. But that's how we need to just be more patient, be much more considerate at that particular time of time. I developed much more empathy towards crew members as well as towards guests, because when I went there, obviously you hear many things on the news, like about different incidents that have happened, but when you are actually dealing with it, okay, you come to know the gravity of the situation. So it helped me to become more empath from my end and develop much more patience with regards to me being as a person. And I always had to be very firm and assertive, uh, because being in security, we just cannot do yes, yes, yes for everything, and that is also the wrong thing. It cannot be a yes, yes, yes situation always. So apart, so like I would say that being firm and assertive, but at the same time not being very aggressive. So I had to play it very, not just me, but even my teammates. We always have to ensure that we don't lose our temper. Sometimes it's very challenging extremely tiring as well. Sometimes at the end of the day, something comes up, an incident or investigation. But yes, we buckle up again and clear our mind, and then we resolve the issue. And sometimes what actually happens is a guest is very unwilling to cooperate with you. For whatever reason it might be, he might not be understanding your reasoning. He might not agree to your explanation. Okay, and if it's getting too escalated, we always step back. Okay, and just call for somebody else who can again explain to the guest in the right manner that he or she agrees to. So that's how it works about.
Amazing, amazing, Mr. Vishal. That's such an insightful take, actually. It's always eye-opening to hear what really on-ground exposure to international systems brings into perspective and how it raises the standard for what's possible back home.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So, Mr. Vishal, you have worked in environments where safety isn't just policy, it's practice. And you have mentioned compliance with frameworks like the ISPS Code and CVSSA regulations, which are
Hmm.
anything but static. So, I'm curious to know, with rules evolving constantly, how do you personally stay aligned with international safety laws?
Okay, so starting off again with my Jet Airways years, being an airline company and working in the aviation security, staying in compliance was always a mandatory process out here. Okay, because we have got, as I said before, BCS, Bureau of Civil Aviation Security, as well as DGCA, who's overlooking all the safety aspects as well. So similarly, for shipping industry, there is an ISPS code, as you rightly said. What ISPS really stands for is International Ship and Port Facility Security Code. Okay, so it's a framework, it's a regulation that the IMO started deliberating after the 9/11 attacks. Okay, because in 2001, when the 9/11 attacks happened, there was no such regulation for cruise ships. And aviation security also went into a drastic change after that. And because of that, there was a framework which was adopted on 1st July 2004, um, which is called the ISPS code. So basically, the ISPS code is a framework for and regulation for all contracting parties. Now, when I say contracting parties, that means governments who have signed that particular code. Okay. Then that also includes cruise ship operators, shipping companies, irrespective of whether you're a merchant vessel or you're a cruise company, the port authorities as well. Okay. And then there are certain regulations. It is basically divided into Part A and Part B. So that is, Part A is a mandatory guideline for the authorities and the concerned parties to follow, as well as Part B is a guideline for reference purposes. But Part A is mandatory. So that encompasses your aspects regarding your trainings, okay, training the crew members, okay, what responsibilities should be taken care by the governments, okay, and then also the responsibility to be held by the shipping companies, and then at the same time the port authorities as well, because every single time you cannot just work in a environment where you say one thing and I say one thing. Okay, there has to be a framework, and that's what this ISPS does. It's make sure that the ports and the shipping companies are in compliance with the international regulations. Then there are different maritime security levels, okay, to address the security concerns with regards to the port or even to the ships, and then different guidelines as to how the crew members are to be trained, which crew members need to be uh, certified into security, and what are the training purposes, training elements that need to be included into the weekly trainings, or whether it is monthly trainings or even yearly trainings. So irrespective of whether you are a chef on board the ship, and housekeeping cleaner, or you are a chief security officer, okay, or a ship security officer, irrespective of that, everybody needs to hold a designated security duties certification. Basically, designated security duties is for the ones who are working in the security department, but for other crew members, it's a security awareness certificate. So these, in order to ensure, because security cannot be everywhere. Like, we do have CCTV on board and everything, but every crew member is aware of the security challenges that we might face on board, and what is the response process from their end, uh, in order to inform the security on board to come and take over the situation. So this is what ISPS is all about. And yeah, it involves a lot many guidelines. I will not go into depth of it because it's a quite exhaustive material. So now let me take up the second end of the question that you mentioned, that is the CVSSA. So CVSSA is basically Cruise Vessel Security and Safety Act, which came into being in 2010. It was originally tabled. It was a bill which was tabled by U.S. Senator Mr. Richard Blumenthal and U.S. Representative Jim Himes. Okay. And then it finally became a law. It was approved by the US Congress in total, and then it became a law in 2010. So this particular act, which was presented by US Senator Richard Blumenthal and US Representative Jim Himes, okay, it finally became a law in 2010. So this applies, this particular law, it applies to all shipping companies, or all shipping or cruise ships which embark in US waters and debark passengers in US waters as well. And the reason for this particular law to come into being, for them to enact it, was because there were incidents that happened on the cruise ships, okay, which went unreported. Sometimes, whether it was petty thefts, whether it was domestic assaults, whether it was verbal altercations, with sexual assaults, rapes, and even people disappearing at high seas. Like, as I said, like people going overboard. So there was no proper framework. There was no proper guideline as to how to preserve the evidence, what all evidence needs to be gathered from the ship side for the authorities to follow up. And then later on, also, it became a point of concern, a point of issue where the families did not had any clue as to what was happening, and the victims were, left a bit unattended, with no proper guidelines and anything, and there was no proper process to follow. So with this particular act, it made sure that all shipping companies have certain regulations in place which are mandatory. Okay, it might be a response to crimes that happen on board. Okay, it might be it might be passenger safety and crew member safety as well, whether it's regard to railing height, okay, whether it's on the balcony or whether it's on the open deck, then the use of uh, CCTV detection systems, okay, and then also with regards to the doors as well, like, right now if you see, even at our homes, we have a peephole always at the door, okay, to check who's on the other side, who is coming through, or who has arrived rather. So yes, that also aspect was there, because some cruise companies, some ships, they did not have this particular. It was a basic thing, but it was not there. So, in order to avoid all these things, and then there were time detection systems, time stamps on the door as well, because earlier the door locking mechanisms were different. But with this particular act, it made mandatory that all the guests and all the crew have access only to their own cabins. Okay, not everybody else can come and just access your rooms. So all these things came into being. Though these are small things, but they were a very important part, and which are still being followed and applied on all cruise ships since 2010 onwards. So that's how it happened. Now, in order for the shipping companies to ensure that they are in compliance with all these regulations, whether it's ISPS or CVSSA, there are internal audits which are conducted by the companies themselves. At the same time, there are external audit firms. We call them recognized RSO, okay, recognized security organizations. These are handpicked by the flag administrators, and they ensure that they come down to the ships, they check that whether we are in compliance or not, and if there is any deficiency, what corrective actions are to be taken. So it is not like, just the act is made and then there's nobody to look after it. There is a checks and balance, there is an accountability process that comes with it. So that's how this particular the code, this ISPS and CVSSA has played an important role with ensuring that the passengers are safe and secure, and at the same time, the port facilities and the ships on their both ends are complying with the necessary regulations.
Mr. Vishal, that's incredibly insightful. And it really shows how staying compliant isn't just a technical task, it's a mindset and one that clearly requires constant awareness and commitment.
Right.
Okay. So, looking ahead, do you see yourself stepping into more strategic roles, perhaps even a boardroom seat in the future? Or is there a direction you are consciously moving towards, a new kind of impact you would like to create in the next chapter of your career?
So Sunny, with regards to this particular question, the answer is definitely yes. As I've mentioned earlier, with regards to my professional domain, how evolved over the years, I certainly want to take the next logical step and get into a strategic consulting and advisory role, and eventually move to become a board member, so that I could use the experience and knowledge that I've gained so far, and continue through my constant learning that I've through my constant learning process. Just help the company and the industry as well uh, to take it to a certain height, and explore newer possibilities, whether it's aviation industry or the cruise shipping industry. Um, because right now, with the advent of so many companies coming up, so many, I would say, people being much more aware about vacations and everything, they really want to enjoy themselves. So whether it's India or whether it's international market, I certainly want to get into a board function level, where I could properly enhance my capabilities and make sure that I contribute to the company and the board in a much more productive manner. Um, for this particular reason, the important phase of my current journey is going through the ICDP course, that is International Corporate Directors Program, that I have enrolled with Directors Institute. And this particular program has certainly helped me understand the governance aspects, the corporate governance aspect, a lot better, not just of India, but also the international market as well. Um, so, ultimately helping me to crack down the exam of being an independent director, which is conducted by the Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs. With regards to mentoring and training, I think that has been something that I've always liked to do, whether it was during my NCC years or whether it was in my Jet Airways years or even as a security supervisor with Royal Caribbean International. You know, you learn from someone always, right? It's not that you know everything. So whenever, for me, it was personally that if I've learned something better, okay, and if there is a new person coming in, I'm more than happy to train them and to let them know about the roles and responsibilities that they will be taking upon. So that is the reason why, irrespective of, along with the say strategic role that I have interest in, whether it's consulting or advisory and even the board members, I would still like to mentor and train anybody uh, who wants to learn, to uh, get themselves into a much more professional, challenging, responsible role. Now, aside from my professional achievements, at a personal level too, that I feel that it's an obligation for me to give something back to the not just to the industry or to the organization that I'm working with, but also to the society at large. Because a lot of things that we do right now currently is impacting our future generations and also the present generation as well. And the reason being is that the industry that I work with, whether it's aviation industry, the cruise shipping industry, these are hospitality industries, and they don't just thrive on products that you offer, not just the material products, but also on the I would say the natural environment that these shipping companies take the guests to, and at the same time the ports or the airports where the airlines fly to, because all the it's an ecosystem basically. It's all interrelated with each other. So unless and until you don't preserve the nature, you won't have anything to look forward to. The hospitality industry will be dead. Okay, so that's where I think the ESG program from Digital Institute also comes into play. And I also have seen that from my end, my personal end, that when I was working with Royal Caribbean International, uh, Royal Caribbean International also emphasizes a lot more importance on keeping the environment clean and safe as much as possible. Okay, like there are maritime laws with regards to these things about dumping waste at sea and how to process it and everything. So that inculcated into me again a sense of responsibility that no matter where I go, whichever industry I in the future I work with, I have to make sure that we as individuals or as organizations uh, play a positive role which will impact the environment. Okay, and just preserve it, uh, most probably, like as much as possible in the way that it is right now, so that it does not impact the future generations, because it's not just the employees or the guests that are affected, it's also the local population. So what happens with the local population is that whenever there is a tourism booming, whenever there are tourists coming into their cities or their towns or their villages or the ports, there is employment also which is gets generated to them. As I said before, like it's an entire ecosystem that functions from both ends. Uh, so it's just a give and take thing, but I think we need to be very conscious about it and contribute to the nature as much as possible. So I think being into the board level role, it will certainly help me put my thoughts and processes into play, and with other board members, some of them very experienced, I'll certainly be able to gain better knowledge and make sure that as a company as a whole, we contribute to the well-being of everybody around that we serve.
Mr. Vishal, that's inspiring to hear. It's clear you are not just looking at what's next for yourself, but how can you shape the space around you?
Thank you so much.
So, talking about corporate governance, as you know, is more crucial than ever. With your experience across multiple high stakes environments, how do you see the role of governance evolving in the industries you have worked in?
Uh, the corporate governance has evolved, since as per my understanding, that it's constantly evolving, and because of the nature of the government regulations and awareness among the consumers, and the use of social media that is around. So companies and boardrooms across all sectors, across all domains, they are regularly upskilling themselves to stay relevant, either through internal regulations or imparting new skills to the employees, and effectively navigating it, this particular challenge that is there. However, we should not stop there. Like I said before, there should be a checks and balance. Because just making regulations is not enough if it's not being implemented at the ground level, it's not being at the operational level. So then at the same time, we need to get feedback. I think that is the primary thing that we can do, apart from having the external auditors and the internal audits that we conduct and everything. Gaining feedback from our customers, from our guests, and also from, because I consider the employees as internal customers. They are our brand ambassadors at the end of the day for any company. So the internal customers, which are the employees, and the external customers, which are the guests and the end users. So taking into consideration their viewpoints about how a product is, how the services are, it's a good reflection for a company and for the management at the ship level or even at the corporate office to check what is happening and how we can better the experience. So it's an ever increasing market. It's not shrinking at this particular moment, and I'm sure it will never shrink. But because of this ever increasing market, there is a certain expectation that the consumers have from the service providers, and this has led to competition to capture the market size and make oneself relevant. Whether it's introducing new products, whether it is into having better serviceability to customers, creating a dignified workplace for the employees, imparting trainings for their professional growth, because at the end of the day, even as employees, they are looking forward to many aspects of the employment as well. Not just money. Money is just one aspect, but apart from that, there are many other aspects that the employees also look into. And as I said before, we need to preserve the environment and ports and the ships that we dock into, the airline that they fly to, the different cities and other things. So it's a it's very, I would say, combined effort from all parties involved, with irrespective of whether you are a cruise company operating in Asia, whether you are a cruise company operating in US. Over the years, I've also seen that they themselves are taking the responsibility of preserving the environment. Well, some of them have already switched from diesel fuel engines to LNG powered engines. So that is that is one of the example, I would say. And companies are not just looking at promoting or offering trendy services, but at the same time they're also focusing on creating a safe and secure environment, whether it's on board the ships or whether they are at the port that they are visiting on. Because if you're not secure, if you're not safe, what is the point in taking a family for a vacation and then having a better experience? So the precious time that the families are having with each other, their vacation time, we need to ensure that it is amplified in a positive way and not in a negative way. How we do it on board the ships? So we have CCTV detection systems that is there. We have use of body cameras. Earlier it was not there. But over the period of time, that is one of the uh, technological, I would say, input that we have taken to ensure that we are functioning better, and then we provide better service, not just to the guests, but also in resolving their issues, and also when dealing with law enforcement authorities as well. Because if something happens, what proof do you have that it happened, right? Then there are, or if someone says something, how are you going to prove that it has been said? So these particular systems certainly come into play, uh, and whether it's safety and security, or whether it's the serviceable aspect on the hotel side, um, the ships companies, the shipping companies, the management, they, as well as the local authorities, they have to come together, um, and they are actually coming together right now, and it needs to continue that way, so that the confidence of the investors, the stakeholders, employees, and consumers, like, it's at an optimum level, and it doesn't diminishes any further. Because only if there is confidence enough, whether and if there's an industry which is thriving or not. If there is no confidence, there will be no investors, there will be no stakeholders, guests won't come to you. So employees will not want to work with you at the end of the day. So yeah, so it's a continuous cycle, and everybody needs to make their own contribution into it by owning the responsibility of this particular segment.
Absolutely, absolutely, Mr. Vishal, and that's an excellent point to make. It's clear that strong governance isn't just about rules, it's about creating a culture of responsibility and trust, especially in environments where every decision counts. Right.
Certainly.
So, Mr. Vishal, what motivated you to join Directors Institute, and how has it helped you refine your approach to leadership, particularly in terms of corporate governance?
Uh, For me, getting into, like as I said before, getting into a strategic role or advisory role, and then mentoring and training was something that I've always looked forward to. And it was very natural for me that after spending so many years on the operational side, to move on to the management role as well. So when I came across this particular opportunity on social media about Directors Institute, I further checked into it, researched a bit about the roles of what the board of directors do, and how they impact the company that they work in, not just in terms of profit, but also in terms of the entire well-being, whether it is stakeholders, whether it is investors, whether it is employees. Uh, so it is certainly a challenging position. It is certainly a responsible position as well. And with my interests, it aligns completely. So because I'm someone who, like, as you have already known by now, that I'm not someone to sit down and take things lying down, you know. So I prefer to take charge of things, and get myself involved in a way that I can make a positive difference to the people around me. So with corporate governance, it was a completely new thing for me many years ago, because for me, when I was an aspiring defense aspirant, when it came to governance, what I was thinking about is only the government that is there at the state, at the center, the municipal council, all those things, you know. But when I came into Jet Airways, and then I realized what corporate governance is all about, and I developed a liking for it. It has really created a deep interest in me, and that is where I want to head to. That is where I'm heading right now, and I want to make sure that uh, whatever learnings that I've acquired over the years, through my colleagues, through my seniors, and sometimes even through the guests as well. Because if you are learning, or if you're into learning, and if you are ready to learn, okay, as we say, there is no particular one guru that you can look up to. Every situation teaches you something. Every person that you encounter, every interaction that you have teaches you something. So yes, all these challenges that I have faced, that I've gone through, the rich experiences that I would have, it has certainly helped me to broaden my horizon, and finally helped me to take the next step into corporate governance.
Fantastic. That's fantastic, Mr. Vishal. It's clear that your decision to join Directors Institute wasn't just about gaining more knowledge, it was about honing your leadership skills for the future.
Thank you, thank you, Sunny. So it's really it's been a pleasure to know you, and to interact with you and share my journey. And I hope that the way I have been inspired by somebody else, someone out there also gets inspired by me, and I would continue to make myself a better person. As I said, the learning never stops. Um, so that's it from my end. I would say that it's been an humbling experience so far, to come from the streets of Mumbai, working with Jet Airways, and then moving up to Royal Caribbean International, working there for 10 years, and now coming back to India. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, Mr. Vishal. And with that, we come to end of today's conversation. Your insights into leadership, governance, and the evolving landscape of security have been incredibly enlightening. And it's clear how deeply committed you are to continuous growth and excellence. So, thank you once again, Mr. Vishal, for sharing your invaluable experiences and reflections with us today. And we look forward to seeing how your journey continues to unfold.
Thank you so much, Sunny. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise.
Thank you so much.
And to our audience, I'm sure you have found Mr. Vishal's journey just as inspiring as I have. For now, this is your host, Sunny Pancholi, signing off. See you on next episode of FaceTime with Leaders, powered by Directors Institute. Thank you so much.